You make too much money to quit. Sounds backwards. Isn't the whole point of working hard to get options? Not when you're miserable. Not when your company's changing right under you. Not when retirement's still 10 years out and you feel like you're already done, right? 20 years, maybe 25 years, 150,000, 200,000, maybe more, and starting over somewhere else, that doesn't sound any better. So what do? That's what we're talking about today. I'm Dale Callahan, and this is the Company of One, where I help experienced professionals turn what they already know into more income, more options, and more control over what's next. If you're successful in your career but starting to wonder what's next, you're in the right place. So we talk about something oftentimes called the golden handcuff problem. That's kind of an old term, but I still hear it thrown around. The golden handcuff problem. Success creates something nobody warned you about. You worked hard to get here. Now you have a good salary, benefits, reputation, seniority, you have expertise, a whole lifestyle built around that income. And here's the strange part. Quitting gets harder after 50 than it was at 25. Or it gets harder at 45 or 30. It just depends on the person, but quitting gets harder over time. You see, success gives you options, but it can also make you feel trapped. See, there's choices that we think we have. And most people think they have three choices. Option A, stay where you are until retirement. That's the one I always hear. 15 more years of this and I'm out of here. I hear that statement more often than you would think. Option B, find another job. I'm going to go find out something else. Option C, quit and start a business. So those are all good options. Those are all options people talk about, but oftentimes, except the first one, nobody does any of them because the first one requires you to do nothing. Right, so, but there's a fourth option most professionals never really consider, and that's the one I kind of want to talk about as something to put on the table. It's the company of one. It's everything we're about. Instead of asking, should I quit my job, ask a different question. What have I built over the last 20 years, 30 years, 10 years, whatever, that has value outside of my employer? Technical expertise, industry knowledge, relationships, reputation. The ability to solve certain problems. Maybe it's tactical, right? I can solve certain problems. The ability to teach. Processes you've developed. An understanding of a particular customer or industry. That's more valuable than we can imagine. And you're so close to it, you don't see it. You know, they're all credibility. They're all capital. Maybe assets that you already own. You see, here's the point. Your job may be paying you for all of your assets you already own today. Because they're your assets. They're you, right? So, and they're paying you for that today. That doesn't mean your employer owns them. Right? They own a lot of things, but they don't own your abilities. So let me give you some examples. An engineering manager could advise smaller manufacturers who couldn't afford someone at his full-time level, right? Without quitting his day job. An HR executive could help growing companies build hiring systems to hire, a common, very difficult problem right now. A project manager could run complex implementations for companies on a fractional basis. We hear that term fractional a lot, meaning I'm not working full-time for you. I'm working at a fraction of my time. A technical salesperson might know an industry well enough to represent products, consult, train sales team, or even spot some acquisitions. You see, consulting here, these are all consulting flavors of consulting, but it's only one option. It could also be teaching, advising, buying a business, creating a service, investing, building a product, or combining a few of these things. You see, the goal isn't to become a coach or a consultant or anything else. The goal is options. And all the options I just mentioned are for real. And I know people doing them, many people. So here's some things, though, what people talk about that I would not do. Right? A list of not to do that everybody just jumps to. I wouldn't quit. I wouldn't quit your day job without a plan. I wouldn't quit. I wouldn't spend 6 months building a I wouldn't spend 6 months building a website. I wouldn't create a course just because you see people selling courses, right? I wouldn't form an LLC because somebody on YouTube told me to go form an LLC and start something. Instead, do the first step. Find something you think has value and test whether another person agrees with you. That's the company of one model here. So let me give you an assignment, if you will. Take out a piece of paper and answer 4 questions. Or probably take out a Word document. Whatever works for you, right? Number 1, what do people already come to me for help with? What do they ask? What are they constantly asking? Number 2, what can I do unusually well? Unusually well because I've done it for years. What problems have I solved over and over? And who outside my employer has that same problem? Now, I'm going to tell you those 4 questions, some of you are like, oh, that list is huge. Some of you are like, I got nothing to write down. I know people with 20 years experience, 30 years experience, I've seen that say have nothing to write down. You are blind to those options. I get it. But start just looking at the stupid, obvious stuff. The stuff that seems so simple that nobody would ask your help because you've done it, but yet people do ask your help with it. Right? That's where your value is. We are so close to what we know, we all are, that we don't value it anymore. So we'll put those questions down in the show notes. Look at them again. I want you to think about those and not question whether there's any value to it. Just start writing it down. See, what I would not do is don't go looking for your passion. I'm a big believer in working into something you're passionate about, but don't start there. Look for economic assets. You already have them. Things somebody would pay to have solved. That's an economic asset. When you have an ability, they have a problem, you can solve it. That's an economic asset. That's where we want to focus on. So, all right. Let me throw something out to you now. Now you've got this list. What I suggest you do is get it, write it down, think through it. Don't overthink it. Just write down the obvious. But I want to ask you for something, right? I am building something for people exactly where you are. A way to figure out what your 20 years is actually worth outside your job. I've been doing this for years and years and years under academia. I've been doing this working with professionals and corporations. I'm trying to work more with individuals. So that's what I'm looking for. To do this, I want to talk to people who are actually living this problem right now, not inside my big companies I'm working with necessarily, not inside an academic institution, but just individually people who are doing that. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I want to hear where you are stuck and what you've already tried. So here's my ask. Send me an email. My email is just dale@dalecallahan.com. Simple. And just put what's next in the subject line. And tell me in a couple of sentences where you are. Look at this list I've sent you. Send me that. And let's have a chat. I'll get back in touch with you. But so let's close on this, though. I just want to recap and really want to state this issue really. This is just so important. I just run into it every day. There's so much underused capital, underused abilities out there because people are stuck in something and they're going through the mundane motions of a corporate job that they are no longer plugged into. And they have these, it's like seeing a piece of real estate that's junky, that's the yard is in a mess, that needs a paint job, and you're like, that's an underutilized asset. We could take it, we can mow the grass, we could put some paint on it, we can make this house look wonderful. That's where a lot of people are. That may be where you are. You're an underutilized asset. I want to change that. I want you to change that. You make too much money to quit. I get it. But that was never really the question. The question is, what do you do with everything you have already built? Looking forward to that email and be back with you next time.